They did zombie cunnilingus? What? Today we're going to be reviewing The Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. The Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, at its very heart, is a zom-com, or a zombie comedy. The best way to describe it is that it is a combination of if you were to take Superbad and Shaun of the Dead and smash those together and then sprinkle in just a little bit of Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake. The movie's directed by Christopher Landon, and before this he had written and directed almost all of the Paranormal Activity movies. So going into this movie, I did not know what to expect. Between unknown actors and actresses and a director with a track record of just shitty movies, I did not know what to expect. And I was pleasantly surprised. I was actually blown away by how good this movie was. Three main actors are all really unknowns. The only person you may know is David Koechner, who is, he was from Anchorman 1 and 2. He played the guy who went, whammy! Other than that, the movie itself is full of just really unknown people. It's kind of an underground, kind of indie film, and I really like that about this movie. The Scout's Guide to Zombie Apocalypse follows three sophomore high schoolers who are in the Boy Scouts, and basically they are going through with trying to decide whether or not they want to remain scouts because it's not the cool thing to do. And in the midst of trying to decide this, there is a zombie outbreak, and from there it just goes crazy. There are some really gross out moments. There are some really funny moments. I laughed my ass off during this entire movie. It's kind of the fine line between a good zombie movie and a gross out kind of comedy. Kind of smashes both those together. There are a lot of cliches in this movie, and I liked it because it took the cliche that you were expecting and completely kind of flipped it onto its head. There are moments where you knew it was leading up to something and you're like, I know exactly where this is going to go. And it took that and you did not really know where it was going after that point. And there are moments where you're like, oh, this would be really funny if they did this. And immediately they did it, and I couldn't be happier. An example, there is a scene where they go into a strip club and they are super excited because they're, 15, 16-year-old boys who finally got into the strip club after hours. Are really pumped about it, and it's really deserted, and they're walking around, they're trying to see why there isn't anybody around. All of a sudden the music starts playing and a woman starts walking in the stage, coming out of the shadows, and you're like, oh, this is, what if it's a zombie? It'd be really funny. And of course it is a fucking zombie stripper, and it is as obscene and ridiculous as you would expect it to be. Another thing I really appreciated, and this is something that I thought was genius, is that they took the literal idea of the Scout's Guide and they showed the boys using knowledge that they had gained in Boy Scouts and how they were going to use that in the zombie apocalypse. So if there was an archery skill, they showed how they might have used archery. They showed woodworking, all the different types of badges they would zoom in on, and then they would show that how they were using it in this new world. It reminded me in that sense a lot like Zombieland. It was more implied, but you got the idea that's something they would have learned while they were in the Boy Scouts. Another thing I loved, and this is huge, is the special effects. This movie actually did a nice job of having prosthetics and having good actual CGI. When a zombie's head were to explode, it actually looked pretty decent. It actually has better graphics than some of the newer movies I've seen in theaters, which is impressive, being that, again, it was a direct-to-DVD movie. There are some gross-out gags. There are a couple scenes, one involving a trampoline that is just perfect, and another one, and it is my favorite scene in the entire movie, involves two high schoolers who happen to go into this nasty dungeon at a party, and they start to have relations with one another, and the insanity goes from there. Guys, all in all, Scout's Guide to Zombie Apocalypse was amazing. It was something I didn't expect. It came completely out of left field. I thought it was going to be just a normal straight-to-DVD crap fest, and it turned out to be way better than it was. I recommend going to see it, rent it. It was exactly what it wanted to be. It wasn't trying to be anything else other than that. I knew it was going to be a zombie comedy, and that's what it was. For this movie, I would give it 85 out of 100. Thank you so much for checking out this review. Please share it, spread the word, and check back at the end of the week, and I'll have a review for the Green Room.